What's going on, everyone? So, per Shams, 76ers, Joel Embiid, and Paul George are out for the opener versus the Bucks on Wednesday. Today, Embiid is progressing well and ramping up, scrimmaging this week. He will not play this week. George will be reevaluated later in the week. So, once again, look, I talked about this like a week ago now, a couple days ago now, that, the Sixers are already falling apart. And this is a big concern with the Sixers. Why I can't trust the Sixers. It's why I can't yet put the Sixers up at the top, right? I've made videos about how I don't really know where to put the Sixers. On paper, you look at them, and they should be a team that is up there with the Boston Celtics and the New York Knicks. But can Joel Embiid play enough games? Can Paul George play enough games? Can these two be relied upon to do what is necessary to make you one of the top teams in the league? Right? Philly has the talent. You look at the roster. They're stacked. They have more than enough to go out and win an NBA championship. But your two main guys are two incredibly unreliable players. It's the James Harden situation all over again. Now, I do think Paul George makes more sense and is a better fit with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey in particular for what this team needs. So I do like the idea of Paul George over James Harden, but it's still a lot of the same things, right? The inconsistencies, the lack of playoff performance. You get all that with Paul George, but you also get the questions of how many games is he going to play this year? Now, if he plays, 65, 70 games, and Joel Embiid can play 65, 70 games, then sure. Right? I think the Sixers are going to win a lot of games. I think they're going to be very good. I think they're going to be very tough to beat. And look, at the end of the day, if these two are healthy come playoffs, right, you're going to have a hard time beating them. You're going to have a very hard time beating Paul George with the Sixers and Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. But that's the problem, is can these two be healthy throughout the course of the regular season and not be a top, a bottom 5 or 6 seed or potentially a play-in team? And can you, when you get to the playoffs, count on these two guys not only to be healthy, but to actually show up? Right? Joel Embiid is not this big-time playoff performer. He's not this guy. He's had games, he's had moments, he's had stretches, but he's also had just as many where he just completely disappears, where he completely vanishes. And a lot of it has also been just the lack of health when you get to the playoffs, that you can't rely on Joel Embiid. That's the problem. And you're putting so much pressure on Tyrese Maxey, who already himself is dealing with a little finger issue, right? His thumb. Now, he sat the last preseason game for a precautionary. It looks like he's going to play this game, right? But you're expecting Tyrese Maxey, who last year was absolutely incredible, right? I don't want to take away from Tyrese Maxey. He was spectacular. He is really coming into his own. He is really starting to take some strides. I wouldn't be shocked if he takes even more leaps, right? He's improved every year. Last year, he has 26 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, a steal and half a block a game, getting it done on both sides of the basketball. He had, shooting well on from 3-point range on high volume, 37% on 8 attempts per game, right? Shot 50% from the field on 12.1 attempts, right? This is a guy that, you can see giving you 25 to 30 points a game. And with Paul George and Joel Embiid out, right? He's probably going to get, 30. He's probably going to average 30 a game this year, right? He's going to be looked to and relied on to be that guy night in and night out. But the problem is that it shouldn't all be on Tyrese Maxey's shoulders. Yes, it's okay. Him being 23 years old, right? Yes, you want to ride his shoulders. You want to run, ride the young buck enough to throughout the course of the 82 game season, right? You're hoping he plays, 75 games or whatever. So that way, if Paul George and Joel Embiid end up missing, say 20 games or 25 games, you're good. You're hoping Maxey plays 70 games and he can kind of handle the workload, but you're not looking for him, or you shouldn't have to be looking for him to have to be a 30-point-a-game guy and be your sole star, for 60 games this season or 40 games this season. Right? Because that's the problem. How many games are both Joel Embiid and Paul George going to give you? Right? Realistically, how many games can you count on with these two? Now, let's start with Joel Embiid, right? Because Joel Embiid, again, this isn't a guy that's playing 60 games, 70 games a season. It's a guy that the most games he's ever played in a season for his career is 78 games, and that was in 2021, 2022. I mean, he came into the league injured, right? Like, didn't play his first 2 years. Then he played 31 games, 63 games, 64 games, 51 games, 51 games, 68 games, 66 games, and last year, 39. Trust the process, trust the process, trust the process. Well, the process can only play half the season. All right, so that's the idea of going and getting somebody like a Paul George, who in concept, it's like, okay, well, Joel Embiid misses, say, 40 games a season. Okay, well, you have Tyrese Maxey and Paul George, right? Like, you have two guys that can come in and give you what you need, give you what you're looking for. So that way Joel Embiid can take his time rehabbing his injuries, right? Take his time getting back. And then once he does get back, okay, now good luck beating them, right? But the idea is to have the two guys that can basically carry you throughout the season. So that way Joel Embiid can take his time coming back. Now, look, if you look at Paul George last season, he played 74 games. If Paul George plays 74 games this year, or let's call it 70 games, right? Say Paul George plays 70 games this year, then you're fine. Right, if Paul George comes back from this injury, right, he had a bone bruise. Luckily, he didn't have any structural damage or anything like that. But if he plays, 70 games, let's say 68 games, right? Play somewhere around that, then yes, then Philly's going to, again, be really good. Him and Tyrese Maxey should be enough with the depth and talent that you have on Philly to be able to get you at least, a top 4, maybe 5 seed at worst. Right, I still think it's very possible they could end up being a top 3 seed, even with just George and Max. Because again, Philly has a really nice squad. But if you get the Paul George that's playing, 56 games, 31 games, 54 games, 48 games, right? If you get that Paul George, now you're in trouble. You get that Paul George that, again, is playing half the season, and your two stars are playing half the season. I don't know, like, how much are you going to be able to rely on the Sixers to get it done this season? Sixers even last year looked fantastic, and then Joel Embiid ends up missing half the season. All of a sudden, you look up and they're just not very good, And you need to be able to rely on your best player. Joel Embiid is an incredible talent. When he's healthy, he's arguably the best player in the entire NBA, right? But the problem is that the best ability is availability. And there seems to be look, Anthony Davis, for example, has had the nickname of street clothes, and he's played more games in the last 5 years than Joel Embiid's played his entire career, right? Like, it's crazy. Or you look at, Jokic and these guys, right? Like, if this was anybody else, right? Like, we'd be going at, like, oh, he's unreliable, trade him, do this, he's trash. But for whatever reason, Joel Embiid, every year it's the same issue. Every year it's the same problem. Every year it's trust the process, trust the process, trust the process. And every year you can't rely on Joel Embiid. You can't. Philly has and went and got Paul George to go and kind of bolster this team enough to go potentially win an NBA championship. And now your star player isn't even healthy and you can't even count on to even show up and play. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, right? Hopefully Joel Embiid, it comes back sooner rather than later. Same thing with Paul George. But even if Joel Embiid comes back, it's like, how long is it going to be before, he's hurt again? How long is it going to be before he's not back in the lineup again? It's just that those are the kind of problems. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree with my points? Disagree with my points? You frustrated with Joel Embiid and these Sixers? Do you think, they'll be fine, they'll work it out, they'll figure it out? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.